Hey friends, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we are going to be making fresh milled flour conchas. And what conchas are is a Mexican sweetbread. Some people refer to it as pan dulce, some people refer to it as pan de huevo, but I like to call them conchas. And when I first started my journey in fresh milled flour, I searched for a recipe and I just could not find one anywhere. So what I decided to do was adapt a recipe from my favorite cookbook, Cooking con Claudia. She has them here in her book. And so we're just going to use this as a guideline for the ingredients. And we're also not going to use her method because she actually does the kneading out on the counter, which to me makes a huge mess on my counter. I would much rather use my mixer. So we are going to be adapting this recipe and using a mixer. So let's go ahead and get started. So this recipe calls for 4 cups of all-purpose flour. So typically when you convert a recipe from all-purpose flour to fresh milled flour, you need to add another 1/4 cup of fresh milled flour for each 1 cup of all-purpose flour. So 1 cup of fresh milled flour typically equals 2/3 of a cup of whole wheat berries. But I'm going to go ahead and mill up 4 cups of wheat berries because I like having the extra on hand anyways in case I need it for rolling things out or making gravies. We're going to go ahead and mill up 4 cups of hard white wheat berries. And my mixer, you have to turn on first before you put the wheat berries in. Therefore, I'm going to go ahead and measure them out into a separate bowl first. So with all those conversions I just told you about, I'm going to go ahead and just mill up 4 cups of wheat berries, and hopefully that should give us enough flour that we need to make these conchas. We'll read the dough as we make it just to make sure, and we can always mill up some more flour if we need it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started milling up this wheat. I love smelling the flour as it gets milled. It just smells so good. So here is our nice flour. Let's go ahead and set that aside, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my mixer. So I'm going to go ahead and add the 4 cups of flour into my mixer. This is my Bosch mixer. It is a bottom drive mixer, so it has a little bit more power than a typical stand mixer. But I'm going to go ahead and add the 4 cups, and then after we get it mixing with the liquids, we'll see if we need to adjust and add more flour. Okay, so after we have the flour in here, then we're going to go ahead and add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. And you want to make sure you sift this sugar first to get all the clumps out. You can see mine is pretty clumpy there. And then we're going to go ahead and get this mixed up. So now we're going to add a tablespoon of yeast, our mixture. A tablespoon of vanilla. And we're going to add 3 eggs. I'm going to go ahead and get this mixing. Okay, so now we need to add 6 tablespoons of room temperature butter. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add a tablespoon at a time into this. And then the last thing we need to add is 3/4 of a cup of warm milk. So I'm going to pour it slowly into this mixture. All the ingredients are incorporated in, so we're going to let this knead for a couple minutes and check our dough and see if we have enough flour in here. This dough is looking a little shaggy, so I'm going to add some more flour to it because we don't want it to be that shaggy and we don't want it to be sticking to the side of the bowl, but we also don't want to add too much flour. So that's looking a lot better, so I'm going to go ahead and let this knead for 5 minutes. This dough is looking really good. It's nice and soft and elasticy. So I'm going to go ahead and get it out of this bowl. And I've greased another bowl with butter. And we'll go ahead and get this dough in that bowl. Okay, I'm going to turn this dough around in this bowl a little bit just so it can all get coated with the butter. And then we're going to cover it with some plastic wrap. And a towel. And set it in a warm place to rise until it's doubled in size, which will take about 2 hours. While we have our dough rising, we can go ahead and make the topping for the conchas. So what we need to do is sift 1.5 cups of flour. And you might be wondering why I'm not using all the fresh milled flour for this part. That's because fresh milled flour, it has all its properties such as the bran and the germ in it. And typically you want to have that flour rest and soften so the bran and the germ aren't so hard and gritty. And it really doesn't have an opportunity with this topping. So I choose to use all-purpose flour just so the topping isn't crunchy and gritty. So we're going to put in 1.5 cups of flour and 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. And hopefully I have enough powdered sugar. If not, I can always just take some granulated sugar and run it through my Vitamix. It looks like we're going to have enough. Let's get that one sifted also. Okay, then you need 1 cup of butter flavored Crisco. And then we are also going to add 1 tablespoon of vanilla. And then what you want to do is you want to mix this until a paste forms. So the best way to go about doing that is with your hands. Once this is all incorporated, we're going to knead it until it doesn't crack. And it does take a little bit, so I thought I'd share with you a story. while I'm doing this part. So the first person who introduced me to pan dulce was my step grandmother. She is from, or was from, Durango, Mexico. Her name is Rebecca Carranza. And fun fact about that is she was actually the inventor of the tortilla chip. She and my step grandfather had a tortilleria in East LA, and they were using an electronic machine to make the tortillas. And that machine, it would cause a lot of the tortillas to break. So what she did was she cut them up into triangles and she deep fried them and bagged them and sold them for 10 cents a bag. So she didn't really get credit for that though until the 90s when she earned an award, Mother of the Tortilla Chip. But they've done an article on her on Time magazine, and I've seen her mentioned in Food Network. It's just a fun fact. If you Google who invented the tortilla chip, you'll see it's my step grandmother, Rebecca Carranza. I don't know about you, but I love tortilla chips. Tortilla chips and salsa is just so good. So I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. She passed in the early 2000s. Okay, so as you can see, this is kind of making a paste. And so we're going to keep kneading this until it doesn't crack anymore. Like I said, this step does take a few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out my mat so I can do it on the surface. Because you want to knead it until it doesn't crack. This paste is looking pretty good. There are still some cracks, but not like in the beginning. So it's looking pretty good to me. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this in half, and we're going to keep one side the vanilla flavor, and we're going to make another side chocolate flavor. So you can use cocoa powder. I don't have cocoa powder, but I do have this abuelita chocolate. Definitely want to make sure you put it in a baggie so and keep it moist. So let's get that one in there. You only need about 2 tablespoons of chocolate. So let's go ahead and get this in here. Now you just want to knead this until all that chocolate is incorporated. And then when that's done, we'll go ahead and get this back in the Ziploc bag. So that's looking pretty good and it's pretty well incorporated. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in the Ziploc bag as well. So now we have both of our toppings ready to go as soon as our dough is done rising. So I'm going to go ahead and get this place a little cleaned up, and then we'll be back once our dough is risen. So our dough has doubled in size. So we're going to go ahead and get it out of this bowl. And I'm going to shape it into a log so we can cut it into 12 equal pieces. And then what we're going to do is we are going to roll these into balls. While you're working with the dough, you want to make sure and keep it covered. So we're going to roll this into a ball. And flatten it out a little bit. And then we're going to put it on our cookie sheet and we're going to cover it. I got some butter here and I'm going to go ahead and put some butter on the top. And then let me get another towel and we will cover this with a towel as well. So I'm going to continue to roll these balls, flatten them, and put them on the cookie sheet and put a little butter on them. So I actually only got 11 dough balls. So I must have made my conchas a little bit bigger this time, but that's okay. So now we're going to go back to the paste that we made, and we need to cut enough of this to go on to our 11 balls. So let's see if I can get 6 out of here. And then we'll do 5 out of the chocolate. And I'm going to actually use my tortilla press to help me press these. Get some saran wrap here. I'm going to get some saran wrap and cover up these so they don't dry out. Okay, so we're going to take one of our paste balls and lay it on the tortilla press. And it gives me a nice even circle. So we're going to go ahead and get this and put it on top of our concha balls. And it's sticking just a little bit, but that's okay because you can kind of repair it as you go. And we'll just keep repeating the process until we have all our dough balls covered. I'm going to do the same with our chocolate paste also. This one I only need to split into 5. I have all my dough balls covered with the paste. So what I'm going to do now is I bought this Concha cutter on Amazon. I want to say it was maybe around $8 or something. And you're just going to press this lightly onto each dough ball until it makes the shell impression. And we're going to do that for each one. And if you don't have this cutter, it's no big deal. You could just use a knife and cut it, the lines in it. It's just really for aesthetics. And let me show you how you can cut it with a knife if you don't have the cutter. Just make it look like a shell. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to cover these back up with a towel, and we are going to let these rest for about 30 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and get my oven preheating to 350 degrees. Well, the oven is preheated, and these have risen a little bit. We really want them to rise until they're double in size, but my house is so cold. It is 49 degrees here. I don't know that they're going to rise any more than they are now. So I'm going to go ahead and get them in the oven, and we're going to let them bake for 18 to 20 minutes. Look how nice these puffed up in the oven. And they smell so good. I put them in for another 2 minutes. So they're almost done. I'm so excited. They've been in for 20 minutes now. So let's go ahead and get them out of the oven. Oh my gosh, they smell so good. Look how nicely they puffed up. Ho, ho, ho. You should let them sit for 10 minutes before eating them. But I'm going to go ahead and put one on a plate here so it can cool down just a little bit faster, because I want to dig into these right away. Let's try one of these chocolate ones. Get a knife here. Gosh, my topping's falling off a little bit, probably because it really should let it sit for 10 minutes. But I just want you to see how wonderful they look. These with morning coffee is the best. They are very hot, but I'm going to take a taste anyway. Mm. Mm. Very soft. Look at that texture. And the topping is just so good. It's the perfect amount. They're not super sweet. It's the perfect amount of sweetness. So an awesome way to serve these is, like I said, with your coffee in the morning. There's this restaurant we used to go to in Mesa, Arizona. They would put one of these on top of the coffee cup. And so the steam from the coffee would just soak into the concha. And oh, it just made it so good. But I hope you give these a try. Yep, they're a little bit time consuming, but they are so worth it, and they freeze so well. So I have a lot of conchas here that in our household of two, we can't get to these right away. I'm just going to put each one of these in a baggie, pop them in the freezer, and then just pull it out in the morning. And eat them with my coffee, and oh, it's just going to be so good. So thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you make these, and don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. So thanks again. See you later.